Good evening and welcome to the Blueprint Explosive Exclusive. I'm Madhavdas G. Viewers, 4 months after the nation witnessed chaos and protests over the Waqf Amendment Act 2025, the Supreme Court today gave out its interim order on the act. The apex court has declined to stay the act in entirety, though it has put on hold some of its clauses. Amongst those suspended are the provisions empowering district collectors to decide whether a property claimed as Waqf actually belongs to the government, and the stipulation that only a lawful property owner who has been practicing Islam for at least 5 years can create Waqf through a formal deed.
Supreme Court has first found that there is a prima facie case for stay on certain provisions. They have not stayed all the provisions, the complete act, but certain provisions have been stayed, like the provision that said that you have to be a Muslim for 5 years have been stayed because there is no mechanism to determine whether someone has been a Muslim for 5 years or not.
So there is no stay on the amendments. Only there is a interim order. Those works which are not registered, they will not be treated as work property.
कलेक्टर के जो जजमेंट होते हैं वो तो पहले भी अपील होते रहे हैं. बाकी मेरा ये मानना है कि जो नया वाला कानून है वो 99.99% एक तरीके से इफेक्ट में है, उसमें कोई रोक नहीं लगेगी.
एक तरीके से पार्लियामेंट ऑफ इंडिया का जो डिसीजन है उसको कायम रखा. जजमेंट का स्पिरिट और जो पूरा संपूर्ण ऑर्डर का भाव को मैं कहना चाहता हूं, पार्लियामेंट्री डेमोक्रेसी के लिए ये जजमेंट बहुत अच्छा संकेत है.
कानून का फैसला सुप्रीम कोर्ट का आया है. एक तरह से सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने लोकसभा राज्यसभा द्वारा पारित इस वक्फ अमेंडमेंट एक्ट के वैधता पे मुहर लगा दी है.
To start with, let's take a look at some of the key takeaways from the Supreme Court's order. The first takeaway, the Supreme Court has refused to stay the act. There is a stay, however, on some of the clauses. Secondly, the Supreme Court has said that the rule that the user should have practiced Islam for 5 years is now being stayed. They have also gone on to say that Waqf by user denotification is going to be stayed. They further added that the state Waqf board can't have more than 3 non-Muslims. They've also gone on to add the Waqf Council can't have more than 4 non-Muslims. They've further added that too much power to the collector staying the property will not cease to be when the collector is inquiring as far as this Waqf property is concerned. Let's also tell you that while he was reading out the operative part of the order, the Chief Justice of India, Gawai, has clarified that the requirement of being a practicing Muslim for 5 years will take effect only after state governments frame rules on how to determine a person's adherence to Islam. So essentially, let's take a look at what really the implication of what the Supreme Court has said is. Let's go ahead and look at what the Supreme Court has said. It has said that it's not an arbitrary act when it comes to this particular act is concerned. They've cited the possibility of conversion to misuse Waqf laws. Why the clause was stayed is that there was no method in place to determine whether one is 5 years as a practicing Muslim. Now, this is, of course, as far as the first aspect is concerned. The second clause that we're talking about is, of course, where there is no method in place to determine whether one is, of course, a 5 years practicing Muslim, and cited the possibility of conversion for misusing personal laws. The clause was stayed in the first place because Supreme Court says the clause cannot be given effect at the moment. This is what has been stated by the Supreme Court. They've further gone on to add that the 5-year practicing Muslim clause is not arbitrary. They have said that the clause will be paused until requisite rules are framed. This is what the centre has said in this particular matter. Now, this is, of course, as far as some of the controversial clauses are concerned. There is, of course, a lot of debate going on as to what really the impact will be of what the courts have said. The Supreme Court has also made it clear that they will not stay the Waqf by user clause. And this is what they're saying about it. They've further gone on to add the possibility of government land being encroached. They have said that steps to stop the menace are not arbitrary. They've also said the provision would not apply retrospectively, and they have said that this contention of land grab is from the Waqf, which has holding no water, because this was what was cited repeatedly, that land could be grabbed from Waqf if this comes into effect. Now, opposition has, however, claimed vindication, still maintaining that the Waqf Act is yet another attempt by the centre to snatch Waqf property. Listen in.
Central government, through this Amendment Act, was trying to usurp these properties. This is a setback to the central government, and they stand exposed.
ये जो interim order आया है, इससे जो कानून मोदी सरकार ने बनाया है, मोदी गवर्नमेंट ने बनाया है या एनडीए ने बनाया है, इससे वक्फ प्रॉपर्टीज का तहफ्फुज नहीं होगा, प्रोटेक्शन नहीं होगा और एंक्रोचर्स को रिवॉर्ड किया जाएगा। वक्फ प्रॉपर्टीज में कोई डेवलपमेंट नहीं आएगा।
एक ही मजहब के लोगों को जो है निशाना बनाया जा रहा है। अच्छी बात है कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने भी इस चीज को समझा है। हुकूमत का इल्जाम है कि गैर कानूनी तौर जो है किसी वक्फ ने जमीन पे कब्जा किया हुआ है। अब हुकूमत उस जमीन को वापस नहीं ले सकती।
So what really are we talking about in terms of Supreme Court's judgment today, and how has it impacted on some of the arguments that were coming out against the Waqf Amendment Bill? Let's go through all of these aspects. The first is the demand coming in from opposition parties that this needs to be completely scrapped. The Supreme Court has now rejected that particular demand with today's order. The opposition has also come out to contend that religious sites will be snatched. Supreme Court has completely rejected this argument as well, and that's quite evident from the order. We've seen also the contention that Waqf by user deletion is arbitrary. This is what has been cited as well by opposition parties. The Supreme Court has rejected this argument as well, and also the contention that non-Muslims should be allowed to donate. Supreme Court has rejected this argument as well. Supreme Court has said that the stand of petitioners is contradictory. There's another contention that Waqf property will be usurped by the government. This too has been rejected by the Supreme Court, saying that earlier Waqf Act was misused to avoid legal hurdles. Let's quickly take this across to our guest now. Joining us with us is Radhika Khera, national spokesperson of the BJP. Ratan Sharda, author, is with us. Khaliqur Rahman, leader of the Congress party, is with us. And Professor Atikur Rahman, political analyst, also joins us on the show. Let me start with you first. Khaliqur Rahman, first and foremost, this whole business of Waqf by user leading to usurpation, or it going away leading to usurpation of property. Repeatedly, this is the charge that has been made by opposition political parties. The Supreme Court has not said so. The Supreme Court, if at all it has stated certain aspects, it's only as far as the implementation process is concerned. They have cited that there are serious concerns about how this is being misused.
Good afternoon. See, Madhav, as for the Waqf Amendment Act 2025 is concerned, so it in fact has raised many questions. So that is why the Waqf Amendment Bill was also opposed by the opposition and all those stakeholders involved there. But unfortunately, the government has gone ahead with that. And today, in fact, the Supreme Court has come out with the interim order with regard to the few amendments. But as for the Waqf by user is concerned, Waqf by user is still not clear, because see, Waqf by user goes on to say that whoever actually is following that tradition and the practice, and that particular property is under without even registration. If for example, if the mosque is there and the mosque is not actually registered with the Waqf, but there is practice of the 5 times a prayer which is been going on there. So that is the Waqf by user, which unfortunately has not been addressed to actually. So that is where there is a possibility that even though the Supreme Court in fact has come given the interim verdict, but what I say that this is not going to save the Waqf properties from the encroachments. And another thing is while introducing this bill, the government was fully aware that these...
Sir, the court is specifically stating, Mr. Khaliqur Rahman, listen to what the court has said. If deletion of Waqf by users on account of rampant encroachment of government properties and there is need to abolish it prospectively to stop the menace, it can't be said to be arbitrary. What more clarity do you need from the courts as far as this issue is concerned?
No. So that's what. So when the government, in fact, proposed these amendments in the Waqf Amendment, the government was pretty sure that the opposition would raise these issues, and then the Supreme Court would grant the interim relief or the stay on this. So that is the reason.
How can they second guess what the courts will do? What are you arguing, Mr. Khaliqur Rahman? The governments knew that the opposition will oppose and therefore the courts will give relief.
Definitely, because
They have second-guessed the opposition and the courts according to you.
No. The government wanted to balance it. The government wanted to propose and pass it 100%. And then the government has kept these amendments there, and for which the government was pretty much sure that the opposition and the stakeholders will approach the court for that.
Okay.
And the court,
Radhika Khera, your government has been so liberal in this bill, you've allowed some of the things which the opposition wanted and purposely kept it there so the courts can strike it down and so that everybody is happy. That's Khaliqur Rahman's argument. Radhika, can you hear me? I think Radhika's audio's line will just fix. Professor Ratan Sharda, would you like to respond to that?
I'm very amused actually. See, the entire debate that these people have started from trying to scrap the entire Waqf Board bill, which they claimed was a encroachment on the rights of Muslims and they'll be usurped and they'll be exploited and all that, has come down to saying if collectors' powers are controlled, we are very happy. So they say that we have won a battle by trying to control the collectors to power. But look at what the bill has gained. Why the bill was introduced? First of all, introduced because from 1954 to 1995 everything was fine. Then they amended the bill to give outstanding powers, unbelievable powers to certain trust of certain communities, which could claim any land as theirs. Then I had to prove it was not theirs. It was going through Gazette. Nobody knew when the Gazette came. They could put a right on temples which are older than Islam itself. They could put right on the farmers' lands, claiming it is theirs. So this entire game of encroachment. Do you remember High Court, Allahabad High Court had to spend 5 years to clear its own court premises? That is encroachment. Nobody is encouraging Muslim Waqf land. It is their own trust people who are encouraging, who are rentier class there and making money out of it. So major issue that you cannot continue. See, 2013, it was only 21 lakh acre of land with the Waqf Board for 100 years. From 2013 to 2025, in 12 years, they added 19 lakh acres. From where this land came? Did it come from some Muslim land or it came from Hindu lands? So when you can try to assert the Mande property or any private property, so what was their own trust doing? They're exploiting the land and not passing on the benefit to the poor Muslims. So these issues have been addressed very properly. The idea that this total bill is unconstitutional has been thrown away by the Supreme Court. So they should worry on that.
Absolutely. And in fact, that's the first and the foremost point. Atikur Rahman, end of the day, this whole blanket throwing out of the bill, this is something that the court has definitely rejected because there are several aspects of the bill that have been upheld. Various aspects about the Waqf user, particularly on rampant encroachment of government properties. Non-Muslims can be part of Waqf boards. They have not said the non-registration of unregistered Waqfs, etc. There are several aspects where the center stand has been very clearly upheld by the apex court, and it is going to be the law now.
Madhav, the primary objection of the petitioners in the Supreme Court was that the collector can't be the final authority, and the Supreme Court today has upheld this aspect that no, any of these aspects cannot be arbitrarily decided by the collector. So it's a win situation here. Point number 2 is, as you said, 5-year practicing Muslim aspect will be decided by the states. Who is a practicing Muslim? There is no this thing. Finally, we are expecting the RSS, like Mr. Ratan Sharda said, that why are you spreading, the lies that the Waqf Board, because it is not retrospectively a Madhav. So again, Ratan Sharda should understand that these points were not discussed in the court today. Sir, why are you spreading this hate and lies and, things about, by the time the final argument and the judgment will come,
what is the hate?
The damage had been
Even if
done.
you said there is something
Madhav,
retrospectively, why is that necessarily a hateful argument?
I didn't talk.
No, Ratan Sharda ji, what he is saying right now, again, his point, sir, your points were not discussed today. And your lies are today
Sir,
too, you are spreading the lies that the moment the Waqf puts its finger on a...
Atikurji, I gave the background why you people are today saying collector.
Sir, your argument was not discussed in the court today.
लूट लिया जाएगा, जमीन दबा ली जाएगी, मुस्लिम समाज को कंगाल कर दिया जाएगा. These are the arguments that continuous made. I was on the debates.
He's talking about the context of the arguments. He's talking about the context.
Exactly.
So,
he has every right to talk about the context.
Madhav, may I rebut?
Now, a quick response, and then I go
so, Madhav, may I rebut?
Yeah.
Madhav, may I rebut? So, primarily, the collector is not the final authority. This was the aspect we were and the petitioners were telling. If the collector was the final authority, the government will use up the Waqf land.
Okay. Radhika, I want you to come in on this. Our main argument was on the collector's role, and that's something the Supreme Court has upheld, says Atikur Rahman. Your response to that, Radhika? Radhika Khera, can you hear me? Please unmute yourself and speak, Radhika. All right. Again, I think there's a problem over there. But Ratan Sharda, one of the things that I did want to ask you is this, that even when it comes to the petitioners, of course, the entire rule that he states about collectors is one aspect. He has also gone on to state a clause which says that property shall not be treated as Waqf property till designated officer submits report. And also, of course, Waqf tribunals can continue to adjudicate disputes, and appeal will lie in high courts. No fresh third-party rights would be created in respect of such properties. So there are some arguments of the petitioners which the court has indeed accepted. Ratan Sharda.
I agree, there are certain clauses. Maybe I think the bill was not carefully drafted in many places, and I think there is always a scope for improvement. But to say that earlier there was no misuse of the land, that's why I said in 100 years 21 lakh acres, in another 10 years 19 lakh acres, how does it justify what is going on? If Radhika has got voice, she can speak.
Okay.
I'll stop.
Radhika, can you hear us? Radhika Khera, I'm audible to you.
Am I audible now?
Yes, now we can. Yes, finally, yes. There are certain aspects which the petitioners are saying is that these are aspects of the bill which have now been rejected by the Supreme Court, certain clauses and certain aspects which they considered extremely contentious, although the law as a whole has been upheld. Radhika, your response to these to the petitioners and those who are arguing in their favor.
Good evening to everyone, whether it is the petitioners or the opposition. They have been spreading this misinterpretation of today's court order. The truth is simple. Our provisions stand, our intent stands, and the act continues. The opposition may beat drums of imaginary success, but the judgment is aligned with the reforms that we have introduced. The transparent path that the Bharatiya Janata Party government has chosen. Now, the Supreme Court, like you know, Madhav, has not shut down the act. The court has simply said that the law will operate, but with certain safeguards until the final verdict is delivered. Now they're claiming victory that, for instance, for example, we'll talk about the Waqf registered before April 8, 2025. They will remain protected, but fresh claims of Waqf user will not be entertained. And this is exactly what the government has provided in the amendment. And let's talk about the most talked about issue, the non-Muslim representation. The opposition and the petitioners allege that the domination of outsiders and non-Muslims. But the Solicitor General assured that the cap is 4 in the Central Council and 3 in the State Board. Today, the Supreme Court has repeated exactly that. It is the government's position, not the petitioners, which has been upheld. Now, on the government properties, if we talk about that, the court has clearly said what we provided already in Section 3C, that no government of PUCU land can be declared Waqf. And while inquiries continue, no third-party rights can be created. On the Waqf by user, the misuse of declaring properties as Waqf has been stopped prospectively. That bar remains. Even in the appointments, the court has not undone the reforms. It has only said that as far as possible, CEOs should be from the Muslim community. Again, let me repeat, as far as possible. They have not said that they should only be from Muslim community. Again, consistent with the fairness and community sensitivity. Most importantly, the court has not stayed registration of Waqf. The boards and councils, the transparency reforms all remain in place. So what does all this show? That the reforms brought by Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi's government stand on firm constitutional...
Khalikur Rahman, a large part of the law stays, particularly the contentious issue of non-Muslims being part of the various councils and boards. How do you respond to that?
See, because as for the Waqf board is concerned, Waqf board definitely is a religious body like other Devasthanam. So here, in fact, the Supreme Court has kept the ambiguity there in the interim order, and as my friend from the BJP said, can be is a word which can be, misused by the government while nominating the non-Muslim members or the non-Muslim executive officer there on the Waqf boards actually. So these are the, small details which definitely, I think needs to be looked into. Otherwise, I think with all the due respect, the interim order, in fact, definitely there is some kind of a relief, and also the Supreme Court has shown a mirror to the government that there were lacunas.
It is a relief, it is a mirror to the government. Radhika Khera.
What relief? I have just categorically, I don't know if the Congress spokesperson here has even read the court order. So take out time and read the court order. It is available easily. I have listed out every point. What it has been, the court has only reiterated what the government has always been saying. You people have been, I didn't speak over you. Sir, please listen. You are very confused. You don't know what you're petitioning for. You don't know what the government has said. You are just gone and you're claiming victory. Please stop beating drums. Sir, I didn't speak over you. Kindly listen to me.
Let us speak. Let us speak. Let us speak. She's coming last in the debate. Yeah.
Please go ahead.
It is very simple. I started with this. Our provision stands. Our intent stands and the act continues. How is it your victory? Please stop beating the drum. And everything that we have always been talking about, the court has upheld everything. They have safeguarded. They have reiterated everything. So your so-called victory is nothing but a hollow political spin.
Okay.
Cut that out. Stop spreading vague information to the people. Let the reality go down.
All right, let's leave it there. We'll have to leave it there for the moment. Radhika Khera, Ratan Sharda, Khaliqur Rahman, and Professor Adikur Rahman, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us. Certainly, of course, the political discourse and the debate surrounding this is not going to end, but certainly a very, very significant and landmark judgment coming in there as far as the Apex Court is concerned. Slipping into a quick break for now.